You're listening to the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the place where you, as a dad, will gain more tools for your fathering toolbox, and where moms and daughters are also invited to listen into the conversation. Now, here is your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.
Hello and welcome to the Dad Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. I welcome you here today to this conversation, especially if you're a dad who wants to add more tools to your fathering toolbox. Well, you know the grid that I use every week. Dad, it's on your mark, get set, go. So picture yourselves standing side by side with other dads getting ready to run their fathering race this week. I'm on the sidelines as your coach, cheering you on and saying, on your mark, get set, go. On your mark, we're going to talk about a theme. Get set, fill that in with stories and stats, and go is always your practical action step so that you can put your love for your daughters and your sons into action this week. Well, today on the program, I have a guest coach joining me by the name of David A.R. White. He's a producer, a writer, and an actor who is best recognized for his starring role in God's Not Dead. You probably saw that movie as Pastor Dave. David grew up in Kansas, which just happens to be where my husband is from, as the son of a Mennonite preacher, and he left Bible college for Hollywood, where his first acting job was guest starring on Burt Reynolds' Evening Shade. Since 1990, David has starred in many other films, including Nothing is Impossible, Love on the Rock, Finding Love in Quarantine, and Mercy Streets. David is also a founding partner of Pure Flix Studios and Pinnacle Peak Pictures, which is the leading faith and family film studio that includes Pure Flix streaming. David is a father to 3 children, 2 daughters, ages 10 and 13, and 1 son who's a teenager. And he has gone through life in Hollywood, and he's living to tell about it. And today I'm inviting him to share some of his personal story in his own home life. And I welcome you here, David A.R. White.
Nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So welcome to the conversation. Well, today on your mark is a topic that I have not had very many dads be willing to address, which is really what it's like to go through a divorce from a daughter's perspective and how you as a dad stay dialed in. So today on your mark is daddying daughters through the dilemmas of divorce. And David, I got to start by reading you a definition that I just found of the word daddying, which is it requires active involvement and a lifelong commitment to a child's physical, emotional, social, intellectual, creative, and moral spiritual well-being. Oh my goodness. That's what's on the shoulders of dads, right? Like, how do you cover all those bases? I imagine it's overwhelming at best, let alone going through, a change in your family life. So I am going to now get set, punt to you, and just invite you to share anything you want to say about what's happened in your home life. No one plans to get married and not have it last, and yet we know that at least a lot of the dads in the groups I lead, a lot of the dads that reach out to me end up being estranged from their kids. And I love that you've stayed connected to your kids from what I've stalked you on social media to see. So anything you want to share about how long you've been a single father, what that's been like as a dad with your daughters, especially through this process.
Well, thanks for having me on and asking me not really nice, easy questions about the weather and, or who do I think is going to win the NBA?
We don't roll like that
finals. Here. Things that matter. No. It's interesting. I never thought I'd be a single dad. Certainly it was, it's hard for any family to go through, and it is not something that I think anybody sets out to do. So, and, overall, the hope and the goal is that your kids, I don't know how they couldn't be everything to every parent, but they're my everything, certainly, and they're my priorities. And
that's awesome.
And my hope is that they grow up knowing the Lord and that they are healthy, strong, fit individuals.
Yeah.
And so whether you're married or divorced, I think is also a tricky thing to do in our society today.
Yeah, so you've been a single father now 3 years?
Yep.
I think you said. And has there been anything that has surprised you that's been harder than you thought it would be, or maybe easier in terms of being like the dad who has to cover the bases with your daughters as they're at those ages where
Well,
everything's
yeah.
changing and hormones and guys and
Yeah, fortunately, their mom is very involved with their lives as well, and so that I think takes a lot off of me. Andrea's a great mom, and so yeah, trying to navigate, going through those teenage years is my oldest is 13, and so
you're there.
yeah, we're there on there, and so they change a lot. Their outward appearance is changing,
Yeah.
and obviously they go through all their emotions and I don't know, my
Nothing
youngest
quite
is
prepares
10,
ya.
so it's a little easier.
Yeah.
She's a little more. I feel like not in the middle of it like my 13-year-old is.
Yeah. So 13, is she 8th grade? Heading into
Heading into
that
8th
next year,
grade, actually.
Which,
Yeah.
what's interesting is often in my counseling practice where I have mentored, coached, counseled girls that are in their teens and 20s has kind of been my sweet spot, is I've often asked even adult women, tell me what happened before, during, or after 8th grade. It's like this real pivotal point for a lot of girls in terms of who am I? Does the strongest queen bee have the loudest voice to tell you what's okay about you and isn't? And so I think it's so cool that you, in some ways, if you're like other dads that I've walked alongside who have been through divorce, where they're like, I'm now kind of having to wear more, a bigger hat, if you will, when my kids are with me. I'm all on. It's all on me to cover those bases.
Yeah. I mean,
in
it's
proactive
tricky.
ways.
Yeah, it's tricky in that way. Kids are busy today too. They got a lot of sports and activities, and but that's good. I mean, anything to keep them off their iPads is as much as possible is, I think, a huge part of the goal and
real
challenge.
people time here.
Yeah, and that's it's a very challenging. Although I have found, to the defense of the iPad, what it does do is it connects them to their friends that that don't necessarily live next door, and so they're able to hang out with their friends, do these these simple games like Roadblocks or whatever, building these things, and that's kind of sweet. And I'm always more thankful when my daughter is on with their friends.
And is she ever inviting you in to see what she's doing? How do you kind of balance?
I mean,
the
I just keep
backing off?
interrupting. I just keep coming in, and then talking to her friends a lot of the times,
That's awesome.
And fortunately, my daughters go to a good little Christian school, so it's a very sweet school.
Wow. So how do you actively keep your daughters, let's talk about them specifically, off their iPads? You said, that's a good day when you can do that with some balance.
It is a good day. Like literally at the end of the day, if I've kept them off of their phones or iPads, I consider it a massive win for the day. Like I achieved fatherhood, which is so funny to actually say that to anybody who doesn't really have kids or even understand the pull to the social media or to the lure of what they could be watching on there. But that doesn't always happen. So how do I do it, you said?
Yes. Is it more inviting them to go do things with you, or do
a
you
lot of
do
that
things
is. Yeah,
with
I mean,
them?
I've always been a pretty active dad with my kids all the time. I mean, that was kind of my thing. Is I was like the play guy. So
okay.
Yeah, we play ping pong. I bought a ping pong table like 2 years ago because I grew up playing ping pong, and I was like, my daughters are going to know how to play ping pong, and so they
So
they
cool. I
dislike
love
it
that.
though. I mean, because it's so weird, and none of their friends play ping pong, and I had it as a single dad, I had it sitting in my living room, because I also like to watch
Hey,
TV.
it's furniture.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But then I bought an air hockey table, of which I don't enjoy playing very much, but my
Do
little
they?
one does. My little one does, especially.
You know what's funny? I've had little girls that used to spend the night with me all the time, and we'd go on our date nights, these little girls, and we'd play air hockey at a pizza place.
They love air hockey.
They loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's a
my
good one.
10-year-old specifically plays with her especially anytime they have friends over, then they fire up those games a bit.
You know
Pool
what?
time, there's pools.
Yeah.
There's I don't do very well with getting them to. My daughters aren't huge into, soccer. I can get them to play soccer. But
Okay.
basketball, my son is a very good basketball player, and and that's his whole life.
Yeah.
Not his
Yeah.
whole life, but that's a massive part of his life. And but my daughters
Not so much.
want to do.
You know what I actually love about you just talking about basic like ping pong is that, especially in Hollywood where they could have the choice of all kinds of options,
Yeah.
is you're just like, I'm getting a pool,
Ping pong
ping
table.
pong table,
Yeah.
air hockey table. I think at the end of the day, every dad is in the same space of going, how do I bring my daughters along to play with me in some fun, common, down-to-earth, can I be so bold as to say non-entitled ways? Like there's a winner and there's a loser, and you learn to play a game with someone where you have to look at them in the eye and it goes back and forth. It's not all about you. I mean,
That's interesting.
kind of some lessons probably woven even into the simplicity of a game like that. And you as a dad said, I'm going to buy the pool. I keep calling it a pool table.
ping
Did you ever
pong.
play that?
I had a pool table growing up, but it was a kind of a warped pool table because we couldn't afford a nice one. So it was like a hand-me-down from some family. And I was really good at it because the pockets all sunk. So you just had to just aim for the general vicinity. And you were
You were in the ballpark.
Yeah, it was a good chance that was going in. Little did I know that when I then got into playing pool for money, that my skills really didn't hold up.
Right.
Only to be sidelined and lose lots of,
there you
hundreds
go.
of thousands of dollars.
Not
but
good.
again,
Okay,
this
pool-
whole
no
podcast
pool
is
tables,
really
dads.
about therapy and lots of different ways. I actually did not gamble, for the record. With
Okay.
my
I'm
pool
so
table.
glad you
Nor do I own a
clarified
pool
that.
table.
Okay.
I
good.
have owned one, though.
So what you're saying, basically, David, is that whether or not you're still married to your kid's mom or whether you're a single dad, you still have to lead with intention. You're dialing into your daughter's lives, seeing what they're interested in, but then I love that you let them make fun of you that you like to play ping pong. I think you kind of have to know if you're going to be a girl dad, you got to know the jabs are going to come.
Yeah.
And you just lead with what you love, and they tend to come along.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't mind actually when my daughters mock me, and I think because they're the. We did a movie called Finding Love in Quarantine. We started shooting it in April of 2020. Now, if you remember, in April of 2020, what was
Yep.
going on? The pandemic had just hit in March of 2020, so everything was shut down, and so we had this great idea. Hey, we pieced together this small little crew of 4 people.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
When you
actually,
say small, I wouldn't have guessed
tiny,
that
tiny,
small.
tiny. The director, the DP, and then 2 other people, and who did multiple jobs, and they were wonderful. But in the process of it, we were like, okay, what's the story we want to tell? And hey, why not? It was a launching period for me to do a movie with my daughter, my 13-year-old Ocean. And so it was about a dad who travels so much that he doesn't get to spend time with his daughter. And in the middle of the pandemic, we did it. It was called Finding Love in Quarantine. We unfolded this. It was a series that ran on PureFlix for 8 weeks straight, where every week we would shoot, and then like 3 or 4 weeks later it would come out, and then we turned it into a movie later. And it wasn't until later that obviously I was recording these scenes on my computer without my lead actress, besides my daughter. And I guess my point is I like the point of the spending time with your daughter, and what does that look like, and what do they need in the midst of what we're lacking. And the pandemic was really good about that, because it brought us together. It brought us together on a movie, but it also brought us together as a family more, because you were, I was traveling less.
And if I'm doing the math right, that would have coincided with some of the changes in your family dynamics with the divorce.
We were, living in different houses at the end of February. And so it was like I was 1 month in. It was actually a way, I think it actually helped for therapy session for myself, therapeutic way to get through it by dealing with a single dad That was a storyline. And single
Wow.
dad, reunites with his daughter in the middle of a pandemic.
Isn't that something?
And then finds love, of course, because it's a movie. You have to find love. I have not found that love, but
it was
the
a
same
different
token, you had to do it.
Yeah. So the movie, in like many ways, was a metaphor of your personal life. Going, how do you still
life imitating art?
Yeah,
in
for
so
sure.
many ways in that movie.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen that movie, Finding Love in Quarantine, it's
How
on
can they
PureFlix.
find it?
It's on PureFlix, of course. PureFlix.com.
I was going to ask you, so I'm glad
but
you're
it's
putting that in there.
everywhere. It's
Yeah.
in Amazon, Walmart, Target, Redbox. Like, you can rent it iTunes. You can rent it anywhere.
Yeah.
And it stars Eva LaRue. Ended up being that.
darling.
She's such a darling. She came on being the love interest. Stacey Dash was in it. Lee Majors was in it. Tom Arnold was in it. And so
my goodness.
I know.
All these
in
A-list
May,
people.
Yeah, end of May, when we were finally able to open up, we filled out the rest of the movie with all these incredible talent that came in. And, because no one was working. I mean, a lot of people weren't working or shooting movies in 2020.
Totally.
And since
I got
this was
married
like
in 2020 for the first time. and
when,
it was
what
June.
month? Wow.
So
did anybody come to your wedding?
Nope.
Or were they drive-bys?
Drive-bys
Did you do
and
drive-bys?
on screens. Yeah, we did the parade.
What
in the
state
back.
were you in?
Oregon.
Was Oregon?
We couldn't
much
even
more?
breathe. Yeah. So it was
Which is crazy. Oregon,
Crazy.
of all
Oregon.
things.
I know.
Unless it was Portland. Were you in Portland? Uh-huh. Oh, well, there you go.
Yep, there you go. But again, all that.
I'm just thinking of Oregon. I was like, big trees. They got a lot of big trees. And why
No.
can't you have some people out to the big tree?
Come on.
Oh, yeah. Then there's those cities in Portland.
Oh, yeah,
Like
just that.
Portland.
But, I just want to underscore the fact that you brought your daughter with you. And, Dad, I think sometimes, remember, during a divorce, right? So your whole daughter's world is changing, right? Everything's changing that she's known.
It was hardest
that
on my middle daughter.
Yeah, that can undermine the foundation that is in their life of what they hoped, believed would happen. How have you dialed into your middle daughter then? Because your oldest was in the movie with you. How have you dialed into her heart through this process?
my middle daughter was in the movie with me. My oldest is my son. So it's my son.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
And
I meant
then
of your
my
two
two
girls.
daughters, and so a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. So my 13-year-old was in the movie, actually. And she won. She was nominated, by the way, for a Family Film Award, and we won Best Picture of that year, Family Film Award. And then I also got a nod for that. And then we were nominated for the show itself was nominated for the Emmys, the daytime Emmys, and I won. No, I'm sorry, we did not win the Emmy.
Okay.
We won the Family Film Award.
How
for
cool.
Best Actor and Best
that's
Family
so
Movie.
Cool.
And quite frankly, I do think it should have won the daytime Emmy for that year because of the quarantine thing. I mean, I don't think anybody else did it as
who
cool
else
as
jumped in that
nobody.
fast,
Nobody
too?
jumped into it, and then to make a movie like literally as the pandemic was unfolding and all the different things like drive-by birthdays, all these things, or you get your groceries delivered and you spray it off, like all the
paranoia
air.
around
yeah,
it.
the
Yeah.
paranoia around it was brought into the movie in this really cool way, and ultimately he finds love through the computer. And then they meet at the very end of the movie. It's a cool movie.
Because I once heard a phrase from a psychologist that said when we watch a movie, it suspends reality for a period of time and opens up new possibilities. So it gave people a way to kind of distance from their own reality to say, wow, we're seeing there's movement. We're not just stuck.
Yeah.
Right? So which is really awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Then back to my question, youngest daughter, you're right, I was talking about the two. How have you intentionally then dialed into her heart differently than your oldest through
They're different.
all the transition?
I mean, that's the thing is that they have different personalities, Ocean is a lot like her mom, and she has very similarities to that. And Everson is my youngest, and she's like me in a lot of ways. So she's a little more happy-go-lucky, she's easy, and So you have this middle ground, but both my daughters are absolutely adorable and sweet, and I love them to death. And and they're different in different ways. It makes them, and so sweet. So I do believe Ocean will be the one to take care of me when I'm 92 years old, sipping soup. We always say that to her,
Do they need to process a lot of the transition with you? Like, have they needed to
you
the
just wanna
past 3
keep
years?
coming back to this, don't you? Wow, you're tough. She's so tough, Ian. Ian's over here doing the sound, and he's like,
I'm looking
you know,
right at you.
I know,
going,
and I'm like trying to hide somewhere, but there's nowhere to hide. This is tough, guys. If you ever get out, let's talk. Okay. What was the conversation? What was the question?
You're right. I could go anywhere
No,
with
no,
this.
you
I
can
know
ask
we're
me.
about ready to
Yeah,
land
yeah.
the plane, so you don't have to grimace too much
no,
longer.
it's okay.
But just wondering if there are a lot of ongoing conversations with you around that, because again, I am into conversation and talking
Everybody should read this
things
book.
out. So wondering how often you get to take that home
I
with
know.
you. That's
I'm
your gift.
really looking forward
It's
to it.
60
Hopefully, there's
conversation
chapters.
starters.
Oh, good.
With your,
Okay,
with
so
your
I
daughter.
can take them every day. And
Yes,
I can,
and
I
take
can
them
have a
on dates and ask
conversation.
them questions. And I
I
actually do
know.
have one there on divorce.
Yeah,
But
that's
wondering,
good.
like, how do you initiate conversations with them so they know it's okay to keep going, hey, I'm having a hard time now on year 3 that I wasn't in year 1?
I mean, that's tough, you know.
Or
to
do you
have
just let them bring it up?
conversations. I try to let them bring it up, but I also try to be there for them and with them and everything. And so I don't know, my daughters, I haven't felt like I have a lot of deep conversations about this kind of stuff or anything at so far.
So it's a lot of just being present.
Yeah, but I'm
showing
always
up.
present with them. And so,
Yeah.
you know, and it's funny because I'm like a glorified Uber driver, really, for my children. I mean, you know, the
Well
amount
said.
of,
That is
the
it.
amount of, and obviously that's one of the harder things in divorce is because you're in different households. So, you know, on your days, we split 50-50 custody.
Yeah.
And, you know, on my days, obviously, you're taking them to school, you're picking them up from school, you're taking them to an activity afterwards. And then but then you multiply that by 3. There's 3 children. Fortunately, my son just started driving, so he's doing his own activities mostly. But that's a lot of carporting. But people always say, you know, David, why don't you just get yourself a driver or a nanny? And we did have nannies when they were young. We had those. And I keep coming back to, because I have the means for a nanny. I have, you know, I could do that very simply, or, you know, cooking, have a chef or anybody to do anything, quite frankly. However, I really feel during this time is my time for my children, and the car time is the time when they're not on their phones.
Come on.
And so it allows me that one-on-one
Captive
time,
audience.
or one on 2 or 1 on 3, whatever
Yes.
you know, however, I don't get all 3 kids in a car now because my son drives hardly ever, but I do get both my daughters in the car
That is
quite
so cool.
frequently. And I feel like that's what, I don't want to say I'm called to do, but I guess I'm called to do that.
Yes.
And the
That's
conversations
really cool.
aren't, even though the conversations don't, you know, pop up, these deep conversations about life, at least I'm there
You're
and
there.
open and present for them to happen.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, I end every show with a go step.
Okay.
If you were to tell a dad listening who's been through divorce, single dad,
Listen
one
up, okay?
way that I would encourage you to be dad who's dialed into my daughter's heart through the transition of divorce, or on this side, even looking back over the last 3 years, what would you tell that dad to do if he took one action step today to be more invested as a dad?
Show up. I mean, quite frankly, it's so simple.
So
yet
simple,
yet it's so hard, because we also have distractions in our lives. You know, we have, you know, the whole thing about a job, like, you know, you're the main breadwinner. You're, you know, you have your lives that you're trying to also balance, because we're broken people and we're going through our own stuff. So, but I think the biggest thing is, and I can't say 100% yet, because I haven't graduated out of my children being children yet.
Yeah.
But I believe that they're supposed to be your number one priority, after the Lord, of course. And it will only serve. I don't ever want to be a dad looking back. It's funny because Arnold Schwarzenegger had this whole thing, and I can say this, I think, openly, because he was on, you know, Entertainment Tonight and everywhere else saying it, is that one of the biggest regrets is that he wasn't present with his children. And I feel like I don't want that same thing to happen to me.
Oh.
And
Yes.
I get to go around the world and I get to make amazing movies and all that. And I could be super busy. I could be as busy as I want. I'm blessed to have that life, but also I feel like I'm called to be a present dad first and foremost right now.
Yeah. And there you go. 2 words. Show up. I love that.
Show up.
Show up. Well, On Your Mark has been daddying through the dilemmas of divorce. I'm so grateful, David A.R. White, that you've been here today. Thank you so much for being transparent and
Thank you.
vulnerable and letting me push you
Yeah.
through the conversation. I'm so grateful. Dads, you've been inspired today, no doubt. And it's been a joy to have you here. So this wraps up another week's program. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the Dad Whisperer, signing off.
Thank you,
encouraging
Dr. Michelle
you
Watson.
to make today a day where you intentionally and consistently invest in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads.
Show up.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. If you're looking for more resources to support the father-daughter relationship, or if you want to connect personally with Dr. Michelle, you can find all the information you need at drmichellewatson.com. That's drmichellewatson.com. And remember, you can listen to the Dad Whisperer podcast anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. And while you're there, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the next edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.